I'll go ahead and turn it over to Grant. I think we're all really excited to get an introduction of Copilot, and with that, all yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks for inviting me here today. Good morning from Southern California. I'm probably the only person on from Southern California, but I was glad to help Michelle because this is an exciting time with AI kind of permeating all the things, Copilot this, Copilot that. Today we're going to focus on Copilot from Microsoft 365, which is my focus here at Microsoft. So I'm a Teams technical specialist, been with Microsoft since 2011, and always sort of around the modern work area, starting in SharePoint, and now it's evolved into Teams. But this is probably the most exciting time that I can recall, probably in my entire career. You know, it goes back to sort of the dawn of the web, but this is one of those moments that I think we're all going to remember, the before and the after. So super excited to share this with you. I've been working with a few customers that are on the early adopters list that actually drops the first set of customers into our early access program this week. So I've been helping them prepare their tenants, prepare their users, the up to 300 users in each tenant that will benefit from this as the first wave before it's available broadly within their tenants. So it's been an exciting time, but let me go ahead and share some content here. And one of the things that we'll do after I'm done presenting the content is we'll see what Copilot thinks about this meeting that we're in right now, because I did turn on transcription. And so Copilot's able to take everything that's been presented and go and answer questions, generate new information, very cool stuff. So we'll do some sort of canned demos, some very nice, concise use cases, et cetera, and then we'll look at some live demos here in a moment. So I'll go ahead and share my PowerPoint live. All right. You know what? This is actually not quite the deck that I wanted to share. So let me find the one that I wanted to present. Bear with me for one moment here. While I'm doing that, I'll just share with you some of my other experiences with Copilot so far. It's been something that I've had access to internally for the last couple of months. And just my experience has been absolutely great so far. It's been one of those things where, you know, you see all the hype and you see all the promise of it, but you don't really know until you get your hands on it, because there's a lot of, you know, marketing promising of features and promising of all these cool capabilities, promising in these demos that you'll see here in a moment. But is it truly as sort of impactful? And so I can say, yes, it really is, as far as what it can do for you if you miss a meeting, or what it can do for you if you want to create that first draft without having to go and mine your content for all those things that you know are out there, but you don't remember exactly where they are, because Copilot has access to everything that you do. And in that way, it's kind of like an evolution of search. So those of you that might have worked in the SharePoint space for a while might remember Fast Search, the kind of advanced search for SharePoint on-prem many years ago. This feels a little bit like that in many ways. All right, so I've got my deck that I want to use here. All right, great success. Okay, so Copilot, we're sort of billing it as a whole new way to work. And for those reasons that I mentioned a moment ago, it really is a whole new way to get your job done and to eliminate a lot of those things, that drudgery that we all experience at work of Where did I put that? Where's that email? Triage of our inbox. I missed a meeting. I have to go watch a recording. All of those things start to sort of disappear, and we'll look at a lot of those use cases here in a moment. One thing that I always tell customers before they get their hands on it is that this isn't new, right? So AI has been in Microsoft tools and many of the tools we use in our consumer lives as well for years now, right? Things like spelling suggestions, autocomplete. You might be familiar with Editor in Word or Designer in PowerPoint. Those are all flavors of AI. Kind of in the background, they do their thing and they make some light suggestions. But with Copilot now, it's really in the front seat with you, helping you actually get your job done, creating that first draft, helping you get over that hump of finding things and synthesizing drafts of things and finding the right questions to ask. So it's much more prominent now, whereas up until this point, it was very much in the background, this AI. And so let's just start out with a quick teaser. Some of you may have seen some of these clips, but I still think it's a great way to bring people up to speed with what we're talking about, the sort of scope of what's coming. All right, so that is sort of the quick minute-and-a-half elevator pitch for what exactly Copilot entails within Microsoft 365. And we'll dig into some more of those examples and talk a little bit about what Copilot is first. Right, so Copilot is a large language model that you might be familiar with, ChatGPT, Bing Chat, some other providers out there that have tools that use a large language model. Basically, it's a technology that understands human language after being trained on the entire internet, right? So that's really what something like ChatGPT is. It's leveraging the GPT LLM to interpret your questions and bring back real human responses instead of 10 blue links, right? But where Microsoft 365 Copilot is different is that it brings together your data at work. So that's your company data, and that's your data specifically, right? Because everyone's got their own sort of Copilot with them. And it surfaces that through the Microsoft 365 apps that we're all familiar with. So that's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and Teams. And there's one new experience, and that's Business Chat that sort of is independent of all of those apps. And this new business chat experience gives you the ability to combine all of those apps and all of those silos into a single generative AI experience. So I can ask about a meeting and I can say, prepare me for my next meeting based on this meeting from last week and this email, and find all of the documents related to this topic. And it's going to go into Word, it's going to go into PowerPoint, it's going to go into my calendar, and it's going to synthesize something for me, a summary, or maybe even start a document for me that pulls from all of those things. So that is where some of the real magic happens. And again, like I said earlier, this is all based on my context within the organization, because it's one thing to have access to the organization content, but it's all based around what I have permission to, right? So everything is still security trimmed, but it's also based on the things that I've done in my inbox or in my calendar, the people that I interact with. So think about the Microsoft Graph that kind of understands your relationship to others within your organization and content within your organization. Copilot can access that and provide these synthesized responses and drafts for you based on all of those relationships. And a very important piece here is that this is all built on top of, or I shouldn't say on top of, this is completely integrated into all of your existing security, compliance, and privacy policies. And it's also built using Microsoft's 8 responsible AI principles, which I don't remember off the top of my head, but we do have a framework for developing AI tools at Microsoft, and there's a white paper that I encourage you to read if you're concerned, or, you know, there are often legal and security folks that are concerned in many organizations, so having that in your back pocket will be valuable. But suffice it to say that you're not having to re-secure data for Copilot. This is all built in using those existing security, compliance, and privacy policies that you've already got set up for your tenant. And this is a fun, as fun as it could be. This is a Copilot sort of walkthrough as far as how the data flows, just a very high level technical walkthrough.
Microsoft 365 Copilot is powered by what we call the Copilot system, a sophisticated processing and orchestration engine. It harnesses the power of 3 foundational technologies: the Microsoft 365 apps, that's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, and more. The Microsoft Graph, that's all your content and context, your emails, files, meetings, chats, and calendar. And a large language model, or LLM, a creative engine capable of parsing and producing human-readable text. All accessible through natural language. It starts with a prompt from you in an app. Copilot pre-processes the prompt through an approach called grounding. Put simply, grounding improves the quality of the prompt, so you get answers that are relevant and actionable. One of the most important parts of grounding is making a call to the Microsoft Graph to retrieve your business content and context. Copilot combines this user data from the graph with other inputs to improve the prompt. It then sends that modified prompt to the LLM. You may be familiar with what an LLM can do based on your experience with ChatGPT or Bing Chat. Copilot takes the response from the LLM and post-processes it. This post-processing includes additional grounding calls to the graph, responsible AI checks, security, compliance and privacy reviews, and command generation. Finally, Copilot sends a response to the user and commands back to the apps. Copilot iteratively processes and orchestrates these sophisticated services to produce a result that feels like magic.
And I see that there was a good question from, let's see, from Thomas. Thomas was saying that his security teams are wanting to prevent Copilot and their concerns of whether any of our data is absorbed, copied, etc., up into the language model and accessible to others via ChatGPT. So the first thing to realize is that this is not ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a consumer service. The only thing that Copilot has in common with these consumer services is that it does leverage the underlying large language model, which is GPT 3.5, GPT. There are numerous large language models that Copilot leverages depending on the tool, but the bottom line is that there's no sharing of any data with any consumer services. We don't use customers' data from Microsoft 365 to train any of the language models, nor do we monetize or sell that data in any way, nor is it stored anywhere other than in your tenancy. So it's fully compliant with all of your trust and security and privacy settings that you're used to in Microsoft 365. All right, so let's continue here. Let's take a look at what Copilot can do now. So this is one of our first deep dive, or modestly deep dives here into what this looks like in Word.
You need to create a customer proposal and don't have time for writer's block. Copilot can draft a proposal based on your customer notes in OneNote as well as another internal document. Copilot scans the target files and gets to work, quickly generating a first draft with all the key details from the files you provided. Now let's say you want this to look like one of your previous proposals. Copilot can give you a draft in the format you typically use by specifying a reference file, and it can also insert relevant images from another file. To add the final polish, Copilot can generate a short summary at the top of your document and also suggest ways to strengthen your proposal, with options such as adding an FAQ, which it will generate for you as a starting point for you to refine and add to. Copilot has taken a tedious task, simplified it, and freed you to focus on the details that matter most.
All right, awesome. So that gives you an idea of how powerful Copilot is, right? So instead of you having to pull together all of that information to recreate the wheel, to recreate the formatting, you simply ask it to do something and it creates that first draft, right? And that's important as well to realize that Copilot is creating drafts. It's not meant to create a final product, nor should it, right? This is AI. It's not a person. It's not you with your expertise within your organization to do your job. It is simply an assistant. It's a very powerful assistant, but it's not going to do your job for you. It's going to help you do your job. I'm seeing some licensing questions for Copilot, so let me tackle those very quickly. So semantic index is in fact required for Copilot. So semantic index, it goes beyond the simple kind of full text indexing, meta tag indexing that we're used to with SharePoint, and it goes and it creates hundreds of millions of additional connections based on the graph that's required for Copilot. And semantic indexing is included with eSKUs like E3 and E5. So if you've got E3 and E5, you've already got semantic indexing, right? So that'll happen eventually for you, whether you use Copilot or not. Licensing for Copilot after you've got the E3 or E5 is additive. So you do need to have those Copilot licenses for your users to benefit from it. All right, and Michael's posting some great links. So thank you for that, Michael. All right, let's take a look at what it can do with PowerPoint. This is pretty cool.
Everyone has had a moment when they wish that they could turn their proposal into a custom-ready presentation without having to start from scratch. Now you can. Using just your own words, Copilot can translate Word into PowerPoint. Now you have a professional-looking presentation that you can hone and polish. Let's say you want to add a slide. Give Copilot some quick instructions and it immediately generates it for you. There it goes. Copilot doesn't always get everything right, so it's important to verify you are happy with it and make any edits that are needed. So this slide is too wordy. You can ask Copilot to make it more visual, which it does effortlessly. And check this out, Copilot can even animate the slide. It gives it a professional design treatment in a single click. But it doesn't stop there. Copilot automatically generates speaker notes for all your slides. It's not only a time saver, it's helping you be a better presenter.
So that was awesome, especially for someone like me who struggles with design and basically all of these features within Word, Excel, PowerPoint, these programs that are decades old, decades worth of feature upon cool new thing you can do. You know, most of us only use 5 to 10% of the capabilities in these programs, but Copilot is an expert in, you saw it create animations, you saw it master just layouts and things like that. So it is not only generating content for you, generating these drafts, but it's also a master of manipulating all of the various features that are relevant to what you've asked it to do. So it gives you actually the full kind of power of all of these programs that a lot of us either didn't have time to learn or just didn't know about. And Excel, this one always drops a few jaws here, so check this one out.
Copilot puts all the rich capabilities of Excel at your fingertips. Say you need to analyze this quarter's sales results for the monthly business review. You start by asking Copilot to analyze the data and give you 3 key trends. Within seconds, you've got what you need, but you want to drill in. You ask Copilot a follow-up question about one of the trends. Copilot creates a new sheet, giving you a sandbox to play in, and helping you get a better understanding of what's happening without modifying the data in the original sheet. You ask Copilot to visualize what contributed to the decline in sales growth this period. Copilot adds a little color to make the problem jump off the page. Now you want to dig a little deeper and ask a follow-up question with a what-if scenario. Copilot not only answers your question, it creates a simple model of the scenario, and even asks you if you want to learn more about what it did, with a step-by-step breakdown. Finally, you can ask it to create a graph of your projected model. Copilot has turned a sea of data into clear insights and actions.
So up until now, you had to know someone in finance or know that one person who's an expert in Excel to leverage Excel like this, right? Pivot tables, charts, those are all the domain of those special people in your organization, or maybe that happens to be you. But now this has leveled the playing field in some ways as to taking that 1,000-row spreadsheet and actually making sense out of it. All right, so let's look at something that everyone does, I'm imagining, every day, right? Copilot, inbox triage. How do I manage meetings and mail and just the flood of email that I'm getting?
We all struggle with the pull of the inbox. Sometimes it keeps us from focusing on our most important work. But at the same time, you have important emails to respond to. Copilot can help you separate the signal from the noise and give you hours of time back. Copilot can help you triage your inbox, highlighting the most important emails to prioritize. And Copilot also helps you on the go in Outlook Mobile. It can summarize long email threads. You can draft a reply, use data from an Excel file, and Copilot will generate a reply for you. You can edit it. You can make it more concise, change the writing style, or add more context. Now all that's left to do is review the proposed response and hit send. It's a productivity game changer.
What I love about this demo is that it's showing off the fact that it's not just me on my desktop writing one of these amazing replies. I'm on my mobile device, which traditionally has meant that I had to abbreviate. I had to, say sorry for the big thumbs, little keyboard, right? Something like that. Now, I can be just as, if not more productive from my mobile device as I am from my desk. Meetings, right? We're all in meetings, any of us, all day. So we don't always get to make all of those meetings, or we're late to a meeting. Let's see how Copilot's going to change that.
Imagine you have an appointment that conflicts with your weekly business review. What if you could do both? With Copilot, you can opt to follow a meeting. After the meeting ends, Copilot will summarize what you missed. You'll get a notification in Teams when the recap is ready. This recap will highlight content that was shared, summarize notes, and any action items for you or others whose names were mentioned. You see that one of your customers was discussed, and you want to learn more. You can ask Copilot clarifying questions, and it provides a detailed response. It can tell you why a certain decision was made, and gives you helpful context. You can even ask Copilot what other solutions were considered, and it provides citations from the transcript so you can see where Copilot drew these conclusions. It's a huge time saver. So that was pretty cool. But the real magic of Copilot happens during a live meeting. Let's say you're in a meeting with your team. You can ask Copilot to summarize the meeting so far. You can see how it summarizes who said what points were made, and it's really capturing the spirit of the discussion. And as the meeting progresses, you can check in on where people stand. You can even ask Copilot what questions are unresolved. It's just amazing to see this happen in real time during a meeting.
Okie dokie. Let's wrap this up here. We've got a few more demos to go through, and one that I really wanted to show. Let's see here. Power Automate. I know we've got a lot of Power Platform folks on the line that I think would find this interesting. What can Power Automate do with Copilot and Teams? Right. So what's the intersection there where AI starts to help us not only in Teams and meetings and things like that, but also in automating workflows that are based in Teams?
At work, we all have unique tasks that we wish could be automated. And we have incredible automation tools with Power Automate that are available to everyone, not just developers. In this example, you've made the pitch, you've won the business, and now you need to deliver and be there for your customer. You want to be notified whenever there's an urgent support issue for your accounts. And you want to create a collaborative space for the account team to solve the issue together. With Copilot and Power Automate, you can automate both these things in minutes, using your own words. As you review the suggested flow, it's looking good. With a little more direction, Copilot can help write a summary of the problem, post that summary in the appropriate Teams channel, and tag the right colleagues to resolve the issue. This now gets seamlessly added to my workflow, getting it just the way I want it. Here you can see it in action, with your post in a Teams channel and the full team ready to jump in and resolve a delayed delivery for your customer. This is an awesome time saver for every customer from now on, and you built it in just a few minutes.
All right, so what we just saw there was pretty amazing in that if I'm not a Power Automate expert, I don't have to know about all of these connectors necessarily and activities to connect up, to bring this process automation into Teams. I simply ask it in natural language and it does all of that initial plumbing for me. So again, we're seeing that playing field being leveled a little bit. The barrier between someone that is not a developer and someone that's maybe a business analyst that knows about the process, we're bringing these people closer to getting their processes automated in Teams. Right. So let's look at business chat. Now, this is that one experience that I talked about that sits above any one experience within the Microsoft tools, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, and Outlook. And it lets you have access to everything within your domain at work, right? So your meetings, your files, your chats that you've had. So let's take a look at that.
Introducing Business Chat, which can be accessed from Microsoft365.com, from Bing, or from right in Teams. Let's start with how it can help you prepare for a client meeting. You start by asking Copilot to summarize all your recent customer interactions, meetings, content you've shared, any issues and deliverables. Copilot works across your calendar, emails, chats, documents, and meetings to find all the pertinent information. It takes a moment to generate a response, and now you've got a concise summary, complete with citations and sources. You can hover over names to see their details, view quotes to validate where comments were discovered, and source files to verify information or find out more. Now you know product lead times are likely to come up, so you ask Copilot to help you prepare all the details. Copilot then combs through your documents, meetings, emails, PowerPoint files, and company resources to generate a thorough response. Copilot synthesizes everything you need so you can feel prepared for your meeting, saving you lots of time pulling this all together.
Just a quick story from my own experience here using Business Chat is that it's not always perfect. Like sometimes I wanted this one particular document or it forgot a point, but you can reprompt it and say, hey, why did you leave that out? Bring and include this into the response. And so, like I said, it's not always perfect, but you can reprompt it to bring back the response that you're looking for. So again, it's great for drafts. It's great for saving you time and really helping you do what you were brought into your company to do rather than searching and pulling together documents and writing these first drafts. So huge time saver, but not always perfect. That's my personal experience. E-discovery, that's a good question. We do know that there is some work being done as far as the security and compliance offering. There is Security Copilot. There is, I believe that there's a compliance Copilot as well that's coming, but we haven't really seen those capabilities hit yet. All right, one more video and then we'll go look at the live demo here.
If you're working on your business strategy, you need to be able to pull together a bunch of information, and it could take you hours to find it all. Copilot can help you do that quickly with natural language. For example, you ask Copilot to pull up quarterly projections from an Excel sheet and identify any related risks. It scans through your Excel file and quickly produces a summary of the pertinent projections, and also interprets key risks associated with the data. Now, you ask it to generate a SWOT analysis based on this information. Copilot creates a loop component and categorizes the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in a single view so you can see what to prioritize. You can also share this component to collaborate with other colleagues. You notice one of the items is incorrect, so you can jump right in and change it. That looks good, so you ask Copilot to turn this SWOT analysis into a new slide for your upcoming executive review. Now it's creating and adding the slide. And then it gives you a preview so that you have confidence that the change was made and you can further refine it in PowerPoint.
Pretty awesome stuff there. You just see the, for me, it's all about time savings, and I don't have to try to attend 2 meetings, and it's just freeing me up to do more interesting things, like I said, that I was hired to do, not the sort of drudgery here. I'm seeing some additional questions about licensing. Again, there is an E3 or E5 prerequisite to get Copilot today. And just to give you some sense of how popular Copilot is currently with our customers, we have a very limited preview, that is true, and the customers that were accepted had to pay $100,000 for 300 licenses for this limited preview program. That's I think it starts this week and it ends, I think, at the end of this calendar year. So there's high demand and a lot of interest, and so we're looking to open the preview program up further, probably by the fall or by the January of next calendar. All right, so with that, why don't we take a look at the live demo, and I'll go ahead and share my screen. And we'll look at what Copilot's been doing while we've been talking here in this meeting, because that's always more fun. We get to ask it live questions and see how it reacts. There we go. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. So over here on the right, you see Copilot, right? So I have this app in meeting. It's called Copilot, as you might expect. So when I click on that, it brings up this Copilot pane on the right, similar to a chat pane, but I'm chatting with Copilot. So it's got some canned prompts. So what we see is that a lot of people just aren't familiar with interacting with a large language model, don't have those skills initially. So providing these sort of basic prompts is a great time saver, and it helps people learn the system too. So let's go ahead and recap the meeting so far. So I sent that, and it's generating a response. And so it usually takes about 10 seconds for it to go out to the language model, a couple round trips, and bring the response back. Synthesize everything, because it's actually scanning the transcript, and it's pulling out all of the relevant data. And so you see this has been a longer meeting, so it's got a pretty long response. Introduction, we see that Michelle presented the introduction. We see Donald, the board member, shared message center updates. Grant, Early, that's almost my name, close enough, Copilot. We see, so now we're getting into the point where it's kind of making stuff up a little bit. I've found that to be true, where this hasn't happened yet, but it's anticipating that based on what's happened so far in the transcript. We've built up Daniel to do this next topic. And then Michelle has obviously not thanked the speakers and the sponsors and all of these things, talking about it like it was the past tense. So again, you need to review what Copilot brings back before you action that information. And speaking of action, let's see what our action items are. See how accurate that is. So again, it's going to do its magic that we saw earlier and fill out the survey is a big one. Check the message center, sign up for the preview program. And in parens, it's got who's responsible for those action items. Now let's have a little bit of fun. Let's ask it to, I like it when it can bring back information that's not just a wall of text, right? So maybe I want to take the information and put it into a spreadsheet. So let's have it create a table. Presenters and include a column with corresponding emojis. So this is where we get into really giving it a creative task, like what should Michelle's emoji be? What should my emoji be? And it usually gets it kind of in the ballpark. So it's fun to see what it brings back. But all right, so Grant Early, still not my name, is a robot. So that's kind of because I've been speaking about AI. We see Daniel, who's going to talk about to do, has a little clipboard. That's kind of fun. Michelle, I don't know if that's a flashlight, a
Might
torch.
be a microphone.
It might be a
gavel.
microphone. Yeah,
It's a gavel for being.
oh yeah, as the
love
leader,
it.
as the president. That's pretty cool. All right, so now let's ask it a couple of modified prompts that we just did before. Let's recap the meeting as a as a Minnesotan. So I'm not from Minnesota, but maybe I want to get that Minnesota flavor. Sometimes you have to ask it to do it in the voice of. So let's see if it was smart enough to. Oh, hey there, you betcha. Okay, good. That seems pretty accurate, right? So that's fun. It was pretty neat, don't you think? So that's kind of cool. And then let's have it recap the meeting and make it rhyme. This is kind of a basic one, and so it'll do that. I've also had it do haikus and sonnets and different forms of verse, but the rhyming one is kind of neat. You can see what it can do here. It's not always that perfect, but here's a recap of the meeting in rhyme to make it more fun and less of a grind. Michelle, give us welcome and share the agenda. RBA and day. Okay. All right. So you can see it did a pretty good job there. So very fun stuff. Anyone have any other questions that they want to ask Copilot before we wrap up this part?
I do love the pirate. That's kind of fun.
Oh yeah, the pirate's fun. All right, yeah. So let's just action items in the voice of an angry pirate. I've never asked it to convey an emotion and anger. I'm not sure if that plays by the responsible AI, but a pretty good pirate. Fill out your surveys or walk the plank, says Michelle. Check the message center for updates or face the wrath of Davy Jones, says Donald. I don't know what keel hauling is, but that's what I say. That's fun.
That is fun.
Okay, well, any other prompts? Translate teenagers' text into parent talk. I don't know if it's that smart, but good luck. Let me know if you figure that one out. Can it do follow-up and action items, say email out the recap automatically or the meeting notes to a OneNote notebook? So what Copilot does not do that, but you can always go to your calendar if you've followed a meeting like we saw in the example there, and go and access Copilot for that particular meeting that you followed or that was recorded. But it's not going to proactively send you the notes or anything like that. There's also something that's very similar that uses LLMs called Intelligent Recap, and that's part of Teams Premium. So I can use Intelligent Recap to take the recording of the meeting, and it's automatically going to generate chapters in the recording. It's going to pull out important topics. It's going to tell me when Michelle versus Donald versus Grant were speaking, so I can go right to that point in the meeting. So that's another capability that sort of overlaps with Copilot that might get you closer to what you're asking there. What else? Fun, yes, but ask it when would that be useful in the business world? And yeah, pirates, unless you work at a theme park, might not be useful in the business world, but it's just an example to kind of encourage your creativity, that you don't have to always give it the same flat prompts. You can have it be a little bit creative. You saw how I had it be creative by creating the table, as well as add a column with a corresponding emoji based on what that person was talking about or the context of that person in the meeting. So again, these are just examples. So you'll find that as you use it more, as you use the generative AI more, that you'll get better at prompting and you'll go beyond the kind of very basic, strictly black and white prompts that sort of make things more relevant to your organization. Based on the interview, how well did this candidate do? Yeah, let me share my screen again. That brings up another good prompt that I like to do, which is so if I go back to Copilot here, what was the tone of the meeting? So interpreting the tone of the meeting based on the transcript is really unique, and it shows kind of the understanding of language that these LLMs have. So the tone of the meeting was mostly positive and informative with some humor and fun elements. The speakers thanked each other and the sponsor. So again, we're time traveling a little bit here. There was some interaction and feedback from the attendees who seemed to enjoy the meeting and learn something new. Were there any problems, or let's see if it recognized that I had a problem with my microphone. There were no major problems or technical issues reported during the meeting. There were some minor glitches. Michelle was on mute at the beginning. Donald had some trouble sharing his screen, and Grant had some background noise and audio issues with his PowerPoint live. So that, to me, that sounds very accurate. So that's great. Love it. So I'm just about at my time. So were there any questions that we wanted to get?
Yeah, I'll pull out a few, and then maybe when we move to the next speaker, you could get into the chat. I'm gonna just first ask address the way that you spell Copilot, because I've seen so many variations, and I know that now that it's a brand, that we need to probably know exactly how to represent it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. So there are definitely no spaces or hyphens or anything like that. I've seen guidance, actually internal guidance at Microsoft, that said do not capitalize it. But then I've seen a lot of folks in the product group actually capitalize it. So I think we're still kind of working out those fine details, and we'll know more. What I do is I always capitalize it now, because I've seen my peers do it, and I've seen people in the product team do it as well. I mean, capitalize the first letter, not Camelback. Camel notation, yeah. Let's see. Would it be fair to expect the user will eventually have the ability to adjust the UI of Copilot within apps, pop it out, for example, or move to the left? I haven't heard anything to that extent. I think the most flexible UX is going to be the business chat today, because you can actually pop that out in Teams, and it's also available in your Microsoft 365 dashboard and Bing for enterprise search, or Bing for work.
I think
it would be wonderful.
Yeah, let's go ahead and end on Nick's question, and I think you've already answered this, but let's just, I think, solidify it. Where does Copilot get its data from? My M365 environment, end users, MS applications. What about data from other line of business applications?
So all of the above, with the caveat on line of business applications, right? So line of business applications, we're working on connectors. You're all familiar with connectors for bringing in other enterprise data or services to Microsoft 365. We're working on the same thing for Copilot. So Copilot, when I ask it about documents or information or maybe line of business data, it can synthesize a response that includes all of my Microsoft 365 kind of native data, and then also from the connectors that I have hooked up to Microsoft 365. So that is in the works and should be available here relatively soon.
All right. I would say there's probably a couple more questions if you want to stick around.